In Luther's day, it was heresy to contradict the Pope. Today, it's heresy to contradict Dr. Fauci. Don't sacrifice your soul and your core principles just to get along. Don't sacrifice your faith and salvation for temporal peace. It's not worth it. Christ did not come to bring peace, but a sword.
Faith, firearms, and freedom. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I am your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran. This is episode number 331. Thank you so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. Welcome aboard to those of you who are new. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here and hope you will stick around and come back for more Armed Lutheran goodness in future episodes. Take some time, if you're new, go back and check out some of the older episodes. We have more than 6 years worth of content on our website available for you with lots of great stuff. And hope you will check it out. Hope you will stick around and come back next week because we've got all kinds of cool stuff in store for future. We do have an upcoming online hangout. That will be next week's show, episode 332. Speaking of the online hangout, I want to thank all the folks who make this show possible, the members of the Reformation Gun Club. And this week's shout out goes out to Robert from Elk River, Minnesota, Dan from Enumclaw, Washington, Dallas from Severance, Colorado, Kenneth from Sugarland, Texas, Marc from St. Paul, Minnesota, Curtis from Junction City, Kansas, Matthew from Nixa, Missouri, Stuart from Spanaway, Washington, and the Disreputable Bartlett. We still don't know why he is so disreputable, but apparently he is. But he's pretty awesome because he supports the show, and we really do appreciate it. Folks, Armed Lutheran Radio is listener-funded. That means we don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on the monthly and yearly contributions of our members, the members of the Reformation Gun Club, to help pay the bills and keep the lights on. And if you would like to find out more about being a member of the Reformation Gun Club, find out about just what it's all about and what benefits are offered, check out armedlutheran.us/gun club. You get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, some cool swag, lots of exclusive audio that is only available for members. And you get invitations to our monthly online hangouts. As I mentioned earlier, we've got one coming up. We're getting together this Wednesday night. That is September, I think it's the 28th, September 28th at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. I'll be sending out the invitations to everyone later in the week. And if you would like to come join us, sign up and join the Gun Club today. armedlutheran.us/gun club. And right now through Reformation Day on October 31st, use the promo code Luther and you get 10% off any of our annual memberships. That's armedlutheran.us/gun club and use the promo code Luther to save 10%. And come join us on Wednesday. We would love to have you come and hang out with us. It is always a good time. Today, speaking of Reformation Day, in our separate commentaries in episode 287 last year, which was our Happy Reformation Day episode, Pastor Bennett and I both compared the Reformation and the divide that existed at the time to the current political divide that we find ourselves in this country, which has not improved much at all since October 31st of last year. Martin Luther's desire to reform the church was not intending to split the church into different denominations. He wanted the church to change, to repent, to reform its ways, thus Reformation. But the church and the elites within were not interested in changing. They were only interested in maintaining their power and control, and that led to schism. And they simply would not listen to any dissent from the accepted dogma of the day. And today we see much the same thing politically here in this country as those who question the accepted narratives of the left and their lackeys in the elite media. The elites will simply not be questioned. They will not be challenged. They will silence all those who dissent, as I said in my commentary that day. And then, of course, those who oppose the truth, who didn't desire for any discussion or compromise, or who wouldn't countenance a challenge to their rule, they worked diligently to try to silence those writers and to destroy their works, to burn their books and letters, to silence any and all dissent. Information that contradicted the elites or undermined their power had to be silenced. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? And in the end, there were no compromises. There could not be any compromises. And the result, as I said, was schism and, in some cases, pretty bloody war. And, as I said, in many ways, that divide in Luther's day was very similar to what we're seeing politically in this country today, in the 21st century, 504 years later. One side, assured of their sense of self-importance, their inherent rightness simply because they're part of the elite, they demand that we bend the knee. They cannot be questioned. They cannot be challenged. Those who do must be silenced, or their works, their words, their ideas must be removed from the public square, declared hateful or violent. Their names, their statues removed from the public square. Their posts, their tweets, their videos removed from social media. Their websites shut down. And all of this is to advance a new social gospel, a religion of leftist hedonism and government control. Well, apparently I am a freaking prophet. Who knew? Because just last week, and like the good lackeys in the media that YouTube are, they have proved me right. YouTube has gone back almost a full year and found something objectionable on my channel. Now, I'm wearing this as a badge of honor, of course. I'm only surprised that it took them this long to do it. Last week, I received this email.
Hi, Armed Lutheran. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy.
And so they removed episode 287.
We know this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we have made a mistake, you can appeal, and we'll take another look.
I have not appealed, of course. I see no point in appealing. There's no purpose in it. No good will come of it. Instead, I'm just going to comment today and call out their stupidity. So further down in the email, under the heading,
How your content violated our policy,
it states this.
YouTube doesn't allow claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or the World Health Organization.
Now, the purpose of my commentary was more to highlight the divide, was to highlight exactly what YouTube is doing here. They will not, our leftist elite betters in Washington and in the mainstream media and social media sites like YouTube and Google and Instagram and Facebook and the rest will silence you if they don't agree or if you disagree with the established, accepted narrative of the left. And YouTube has proved that point by taking down episode 287, which is fine. They have their standards, that they're free to do it. It is fine and dandy. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit back and be quiet and stop talking about it. I'm not. What it means is that, once again, we're proven right. The left, we were prophetic in episode 287. We were absolutely prophetic about the left and what they will do. In Luther's day, it was heresy to contradict the Pope. Today, it's heresy to contradict Dr. Fauci. Back in the day, you were not allowed to contradict or undermine or question the edicts of church councils. Today, you're not allowed to question the declarations of the UN or the CDC or the WHO. We talked about, and this was a year ago. At the time, it was proven, understood. It is understood at this point, to this day, that COVID, as it stands now, the Omicron and whatever the current variants are not the threat that the early variant was. And that vaccines are not the be-all, end-all that we've been sold. There are side effects. There are potential complications. There are ethical questions. The ethics of forcing people to take a vaccine when they object on religious grounds or just on biological grounds. Hey, I've had COVID before. I've got natural immunity. Why should I be forced to take this or lose my job? Those are the things we were questioning and pointing out the divide about those narratives and how similar that divide is today to the way it was 500 years ago during the Reformation. The divide between those who stood for the elite and stood for the maintenance of central power over everyone's lives, and those who stood in opposition. Those divides still exist, and YouTube is proving it. And like the divide that Luther and the Reformers faced, we face a similarly unbridgeable divide today with little or no room for compromise. I mean, how do you compromise the truth? How do you compromise with evil? When one side says people should take responsibility for their own health, that natural immunity should be considered when you talk about vaccine policy, but the other side says, no, you will take the vaccine even if you've got natural immunity from a previous COVID, from previously having COVID, and you'll give your 5-year-old children a vaccine that is unproven and untested, and you should lose your job if you don't. Where's the compromise there? To compromise means sacrificing the truth. I didn't suggest that you should. In fact, both of us in our commentaries did not suggest that you should not get a vaccine. We did not suggest that the vaccines are inherently dangerous, or that you should not get one if you desire to have one.
Now, I'm not opposed to the vaccine in and of itself. I'm opposed to the government, employers, and so forth, forcing people to place this drug, this experimental drug that's still under an emergency authorization, forcing people to put this into their bodies.
The point that Pastor Bennett was making was the idea that the government can force you to do this against your will or threaten you with the loss of your job, that they can shut down your businesses if you don't comply, is evil. And he pointed out the contradiction of, for example, the "My Body, My Choice" slogan.
Of course, the irony here is that you have those on the far left who are pushing these mandates, They are the ones who, for decades, have been saying that mantra, my body, my choice, ad nauseum. But yet these people that chant my body, my choice every time there's a women's march and they're wearing their pink hats, they don't apply that same logic to those who refuse, who do not want this vaccine in their bodies.
And nothing has changed in the year since. And we know the vaccine, the only thing the vaccine does at this point is lessen your symptoms when you get it. Both Pastor Bennett and I have had COVID and have both been vaxxed. I know hundreds of people who have been vaxxed who got COVID. It's a provable fact. It's been beyond a reasonable doubt proven that the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID. In fact, the WHO, I think, the CDC has admitted as much. The idea that you should be forced to take a vaccine or lose your job or close your business, even in situations where you've had COVID previously, is insane authoritarianism. Did I pronounce that badly? I did. Authoritarianism. It is obscene authoritarianism to force people to ignore science and ignore conscience to go along with the accepted norms because, and what have we found out? Almost everything that Anthony Fauci said about the virus and about vaccines and about masks and everything else was complete and utter bullshit. That's been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. But we can't question, even though he is a massively overpaid bullshit artist, we can't question his pronouncements, even though everything that he said has been proven demonstrably false. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Wear 2 masks. Maybe you should wear 3 masks. Maybe you should wear masks indoors and outdoors. When you're in public places, you should wear a mask. No, maybe you shouldn't. It's been all over the place. Vaccines will prevent you from getting the virus. Oh, well, maybe they won't prevent you from getting the virus, but they will prevent death. That's demonstrably false. They may lessen your symptoms, but it's not going to, and people do have adverse reactions to the vaccines. I have family members who had heart issues as a result of taking just 1 booster. Pastor Bennett talked about his own experience, negative reactions to the vaccines. But you can't bring this stuff up because it is in violation of their community standards at freaking YouTube. So I closed my commentary in episode 287 with advice for everyone with regards to this divide. I talked about how the divide has only gotten worse because we on the right, especially we who are Christians, seem to prefer to go along to get along rather than standing up for the truth whenever we're confronted with lies. And like Luther and the Reformers 500 years ago, we should be bold in proclaiming the truth. We lose ground and have lost ground to the point where we are now because we have tried to play nice in the culture war. When we worry about offending people, about hurting people's feelings, so we don't speak up, we're losing. You can be nice without compromising your core beliefs. And if people can't accept you for your beliefs, then maybe those aren't people you need to associate with or have as friends. If you have to be quiet about what you believe or ashamed to speak up when truth is being trampled, when lies are being peddled in your presence, but you cannot compromise with lies. You cannot compromise with evil. You cannot go along to get along, because in 20 years, we'll find ourselves even worse off than we are today. Because the other side doesn't want to go along to get along. They want to destroy you. They don't like the truth. They want the truth destroyed and replaced with their truth. Guess what? I'm not going to be silent. I'm not going to be quiet about it. And you can take this episode down too if you want to. I don't care. Because I don't make my living, well, I don't make a living doing podcasts, but I don't make a living on YouTube with 197 subscribers. So I don't care if you take it down, because guess what? I'm also on Utreon, and Utreon will not take it down. And so if the day comes where they decide, you know what, you're not playing along with our community standards, you're not being a good community citizen at YouTube, well, you, I'm going to move everything to Utreon at some point, or wherever else is going to be more free. So I leave you today with the advice that I gave at the end of my commentary in episode 287. But it's better for us in the long run if we face the fact that the current divide cannot be bridged. Going along to save the Union, being quiet or compromising your core beliefs means that evil wins. Don't sacrifice your soul and your core principles just to get along. Don't sacrifice your faith and salvation for temporal peace. It's not worth it. Christ did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Accept that fact as the price of truth. I encourage you to stand on God's promises and be a rock in the rolling tide of this wicked world. When all other ground is sinking sand, stand for what is right. Stand for the truth, because we can do no other. So help us God. All right, that is going to do it for this week. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of Armed Lutheran Radio again this week. I hope if you have any questions or any comments or any thoughts about what you heard here today, please visit our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback. We would love to hear from you. Leave us a voicemail or a voice message or an email, and we will review it and respond to you in a future episode. Next week, as I said earlier, is our online hangout for September 2022. We are going to be getting together with the members of the Reformation Gun Club and the cast on Wednesday night at 8:30, and that audio will be and video will be made available over the weekend for episode 332. I'm losing count. We've been doing this for a long time. So episode 332 will be the audio, and the video will be available as well of the online hangout next weekend. If you would like to be a part of it, visit armedlutheran.us/gun club and sign up today and use the promo code Luther to save 10% on your annual membership. Thank you all for listening. Until we talk again, keep shooting, keep praying. I'll talk to you next time.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback, or a review on iTunes, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.